Good afternoon. I'm back in the shed. I wish it could be sunnier. I wish it could be warmer, but I've got the heater on in the background. It's a little bit chilly today in the shed studio. And what I wanted to chat to you about this afternoon was messy play and non-messy play. And what we've got some of our children, our young people, who really don't like to touch things, and they're not very good at experimenting with different sensory textures. Messy play is incredibly important, but what do we do when children really don't want to touch things and they become quite upset because of that? Their tactile sense is so super sensitive and they're really afraid to try new things. What I'm going to show you, or try to show you this afternoon, is just one sensory activity that actually really allows your children to explore sensory shapes and sensory feeling and texture through a plastic bag, so their fingers actually don't get too messy. And I'm going to post a link to some other videos that show lots of different non-messy sensory ideas for you really well. I haven't got a young person to practice on here, so I'm just going to talk through why messy play is important and how we can help our children who don't like messy things. So messy play is the very first level of play that children, the stage that children play with. When they're born, you know what? Our kids are really messy. They're covered in gunk, and they're being used to being surrounded by water. So the very first things they are comfortable with is water play, messy play, gunk play, and this is why you find toddlers, when they're experimenting with foods, will have it on their fingers, smearing it around, and then on their faces, because that's comfortable to them. Now, we live in a society where we're always clearing up and always clearing up mess, but actually mess is really important. Children learn a lot about textures, what things smell like, what they taste like, just from smearing them, smearing themselves all over. And I know that, we live, it's difficult, particularly when we're all at home at the moment, to allow a time for mess. But as we were talking earlier about visual schedules and visual timetables, what's actually quite a good idea is if you're going to do messy activities, or if you're going to do painting, or if you're going to do anything that involves that you're going to have to clear up quite a lot afterwards, is to do it kind of like in one session, so that you're not, getting everything out in the morning and then clearing up and then getting it out in the afternoon as well. So when we're also talking about visual timetabling, we can also, as parents or parents or professionals or whatever, we can also feed into that visual schedule and that timetable by saying, giving the children 2 or 3 choices of activities, but also we hold an ACE card by which we can say, I have a card and I'd like to do messy activities after tea, so that we can clean up together, or after lunch, so that all the cleaning up is done at one time. So that's just a little hint from me about sort of keeping your kitchen defined to areas or times when you're going to allow a little bit of mess and a little bit of play with either water or other sensory activities. So children really are touch averse, and they won't want to touch anything, and they might get really upset. I mean, this really affects how much food and what they'll eat as well, whether they just like dry foods, or whether they like, whether they'll go for beans or something with a bit more mess to it. And it can be really difficult as a parent to know that your child is supposed to be doing messy work, but actually they just won't engage with it at all. So the activity that I'm going to show now is suitable for those children who do need to experiment with some elements of sensory. And as you do the activity together, they can, really join in with you, but the end result is actually quite a dry, non-sticky sensory experience, which is where you need to start from. You don't want to get your kids upset. You don't want to make them put their fingers in wet sand or or other sticky substances, or play with slime. When other kids are playing with slime and they don't want to play with slime, you don't want to start there. You really want to start where they're comfortable and just allow them to experiment. And while your activities are going on, if your young person gets glue or something on their fingers and they're not happy, you know, offer to wipe it off, but not immediately. Let's see what the reactions are like. Because actually the more you do sensory messy play, or the more you move towards these sensory experience, children will start to feel more comfortable with them. And you can grade these activities, and you can add things by degrees, so that actually in time, and suddenly you'll find that your kids are wanting to experiment with different foods and touch different things. So I'm just going to run through a short activity with you now. I'm going to stop the film, and then I'm going to start it again, so that we're focused on the table. And we're going to be using a Ziploc plastic bag. We're going to be using some hair gel, which I know you've got hanging around there somewhere in the house. And we're going to use some different glitter pens, glitter glues, some glitter, and we're going to put that in our sensory bag. Okay, let's just stop this for a second and So into the bag, and it's got quite a good zip seal on it, this bag. Then into my bag, I am going to put some styling gel that I have. The intention is not that your kids should get this on their fingers and then put it into their mouth, but you can use any other kind of slimy, there we go, slimy stuff that you've got lying around. Put that down there, and I am going to add some glitter glue. Oops, there goes the pen lid. Squeeze that in there, a bit of green. See if we can get a bit of blue squeezed in there. Some red squeezed over there. Not sure whether this yellow is working, but let's give it a go. I'm running out of yellow, but I've got a bit. Squeeze that in there. Then I'm going to fasten my Ziploc bag. Oh dear, it's a bit technical, isn't it? Fasten it up. Hope you see that okay. And then for double protection, I am going to add some quite secure tape, which I have prepared earlier. So I'm going to put the tape over the top as well. So that it definitely isn't going to come undone. And you could also put tape, excuse me, you could put tape around the other three sides as well. So we just trim that off, just so it looks nice. Okay, so what you've got in your bag now is a bit of hair gel, some paint, and some glitter paint. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to, oh, it feels like you can still feel it, you can feel it's quite cold, the styling gel. So just let your kids squeeze, they can feel the temperature, they can feel it cold, and just move the paint and the glitter and the colour around, looking at how they mix together. How far can you get the red together? What does it look like? Can you do circles? Can you make a circle? Can you smooth it out? It's also quite good for fine motor skills. I've got a bit of air in here. Maybe I've got a bit of air out, but can you make bubbles? We've got a nice pattern down here. Can you pull your fingers along? Can you squeeze it up? It's actually quite pretty, isn't it? So this just really allows those children who really don't want to touch sticky things to see and feel textures just protected by that plastic bag. They might actually play with that for quite a while. You can also put other things in the bag. You could put little different stars or shapes or even small beads and get them to use their fingers and push the beads around. So that's really good for your fine motor skills and strengthening of your fingers here. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this. I've had a lot of fun with this. I hope you have too. Maybe you can post some pictures of your sensory bags and your sensory pictures. I'll catch you again next time.